Today we're going to be making sugar flour primroses for today's cake tutorial. First, you're going to need a cell board that has these three little holes actually embedded inside of the cell board. You're going to need a veining stick to give the sugar flour some life, a medium cell pen, a Dresden tool. You're going to need also the PrimRose cutter, of course, wire cutters, 26 or 24 gauge wires, some egg whites so you can stick it together. So you're going to take the wire and you're going to cut a third of the wire apart. That's going to be 1 sugar flour length. Next, you're going to take your desired gum paste in the color of your choosing, and you're going to roll it into a nice ball. You're going to need to start very firm with your hands close together, and then roll it up until you get a round ball. I am creating a little nub at the bottom. I am turning the board over, and I am pressing that little nub in the second hole of the board, and I am going to then begin to make my PrimRose. This is going to give the PrimRose something to stick onto on the wire of the sugar flour. I am rolling pretty thin until I see an indentation of the nub of close to the board. So it's going to be very translucent. Next, I am taking the PrimRose cutter. I am placing it above the nub. I am putting the remaining of my gum paste away so it doesn't dry out. And then I am placing the PrimRose into the other side of the cell board. And I'm taking the Dresden tool and I am stretching out the petals of each PrimRose. I am bracing my opposite hand on the petals of the sugar flour so it is kind of like nice in place. So then I'm able to do a pulling motion of the Dresden tool away from me. So then I am stretching the petal out and giving the petal its life, its beauty, and just giving it the way that it's supposed to look, which is going to be a nice thin sugar flour. Next, I am taking the veining tool. I am going across each petal and I am rolling the veining tool across each petal and giving the petal the veining that a natural flower naturally has. It has a nice pretty vein on it. If you look at real flowers, I'm giving that same life form to the actual sugar flour. And I have tried to skip this step before, and you can tell when you have not veined a sugar flour. Do not skip this step. You can tell, and it doesn't look good when you do not vein your sugar flowers. Next, I am taking a third of that wire and I'm taking a wire cutters and I'm creating a little hook. This is going to stick the sugar flour to the wire. I am then dipping that wire into a little bit of egg whites, remaining kind of like rubbing off any drips or any leftovers of that egg whites. I am bracing the sugar flour in the middle of my hands. I am aiming for the middle of the sugar flour with the opposite end, making sure I'm guiding it through the end of the nub of the sugar flour that we created in the beginning. And I am pulling the wire through to where there is a small top of the wire left at the top of the sugar flour. You don't want to pull it all the way through. You want to actually have a little bit at the top. And then I am really just molding the sugar flour to the wire at the bottom. And I am also, I'm just kind of like squeezing it together to where I'm just really making sure that they are adhered together and getting a nice cohesive glue together. So you see, I just was pressing my fingers together, making sure that they are guided together well. And I am placing that in a styrofoam and I am going to turn its head a little down So then it's going to dry in that same shape that I've left it. So you want to make sure like if this is the way that I'm leaving it dry, this is the way it's going to dry at the end. So I'm taking the middle portion of the actual Primrose, which is yellow, and I'm taking a small daisy tool and I am rolling the yellow thin. I am pressing the cutter inside and I am going to press it inside of the Primrose and gluing it with more egg whites. And I am putting the Dresden tool as just kind of like a way to use like my finger and making sure that it is glued together. And I am poking a little hole at the opposite end of the Dresden tool. So then it is, I'm going to create a more dimension to the actual Primrose. Next, I'm making the calyx, same technique. I am rolling a small amount, taking the mini calyx cutter, pulling it through, putting away the remains, and I am going to use the Dresden tool to stretch it out. I'm using a little bit of foam to kind of like help me give an extra set of hands to then allow the calyx to actually fit on the sugar flour. This is a technique I learned from Maggie Austin in terms of just like giving your hand like an extra hand so the calyx doesn't fall apart in your hand. Next, I am taking some dusting powder and I am starting from the inside out. So I am taking the color daffodil and I started in the middle with the yellow. I'm giving it just some more dimension and life. And then I'm taking the petal dust of the primrose color and I am dusting the outside with a nice richer blue. Obviously, you want your petal dust to be about the same color of the gum paste that you have made. So you're not going to have much of a color contrast because you can tell if the petal dust is a very different color than the actual gum paste. So you want them to kind of actually be very similar in color. So I'm just going through with my brush and I am just lightly and carefully shading the sugar flour with the petal dust. I am not forgetting about the back because, as you know, your cake has all sides and all sides need to be very visible to your customer and audience's view. So you need to make sure everything is covered. So I'm getting the back side. I'm coloring the same. And this is just a way to complete your work. You always want to give your customers a completed look with the back of the cake and the other underneath of your sugar flowers. So I'm just taking the same technique and I am dusting the bottom of the sugar flowers, and I'm going to use that same technique with the calyx as well. Just giving it a nice, really pretty shading. This isn't going to be the last step in it, so I know I'm going to be doing some more covering on it, so I don't have to give it a full coverage. I'm giving it about a medium to full coverage. So I'm taking the color kiwi in the Crystal Colors Petal Dust, and I am coloring the calyx and just giving it more life and dimension because, as you can see, the gum paste is very flat, very dull, and the petal dust is just giving it more life and more vibrancy. And this is where you're going to really customize your sugar flowers for your custom work that your client has paid you to do. So just making sure, getting in, being very careful. You may experience some breakage during the petal dusting step. That means you're just applying a little bit too much pressure, but if breakage happens, it is okay because it will happen. So that's just one thing to accept. Next, I'm taking an edible marker and I am going through and kind of like edging the outlines of the sugar flour. And this is supposed to not look perfect. It's supposed to look very drawn on, very abstract, very just unique and different. This is not supposed to look perfect. When your cakes have a very nice artistic look, very kind of like individualized, not perfect, your cakes look more interesting. That's my personal opinion, of course. So then you want to just kind of like think how, with this technique, at least I was thinking, how can I just give this very artistic, painted look for my cakes? And this is where I'm taking that edible pen and I am just outlining the outside of the Primrose and just giving it more life and dimension, and just really just going through and outlining it. And I learned this technique from Maggie Austin. This is something that I did not make up myself. And I just love this technique. I just like it. I am turning the sugar flour over and I'm applying the same technique to the bottom. Remember, you have to complete your sugar flour from the top and the bottom because it can be viewed from all ends. So I am just lightly outlining the sugar flour with each petal, each calyx, and just kind of like just doing this drawing motion on it, just to kind of like give it this drawn, painted look. You can do this primrose with any color. It doesn't have to be blue. Primroses come in all different types of colors, varieties that you can just pick. I've done a lot of cakes with just different version of these little blossoms. I just like them because I just do. You know how you just like certain things of cake design. They just make me really happy. So I'm just kind of like going through and edging it out and completing this motion. Thank you for watching today's tutorial on how to do the Primrose sugar flour. This is the last cake of my cake collection for my filming studio that I have made. We are done with the primroses, the butter yellow for the season. And I just like that this cake really has completed for my studio so I can film more videos for you guys, teaching you about how to grow and run your cake business. Please comment below if you have any additional questions about today's tutorial. Please subscribe and like the video, and I will see you in the next tutorial.